Stangibelisco here. This weekend, August, what is it? Today is the 25th of August. It's a Sunday, or a Saturday rather. Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday this week, and every uh, last last full weekend in August or something. Well, I don't know. It at the end of August of every summer, Deadwood hosts an event called Kool Deadwood Nights. That's the title of this video if you wonder how they like to spell in Deadwood. It's classic cars, like remember the old classic cars like Corvettes and Buick Skylarks and Chevrolet, uh, all sorts of things. It brings back the song Hot Rod Lincoln, if you're old enough to remember that. Son, you're gonna drive me to drinking if you don't stop driving that hot rod Lincoln, something like that. It's a song about a guy who revs his car up to illegal speeds, gets caught by the cops, thrown in jail, and et cetera, et cetera. And it reminds me, well, first of all, I think it's a nuisance. You can't drive through Deadwood during uh, Kool Deadwood nights, especially during the Saturday and Sunday, because it's just the traffic jams are just horrendous. So I drove to Spearfish to swim today through Spearfish Canyon, which is a scenic route. It takes longer, but it's a lot more peaceful than sitting in traffic inhaling carbon monoxide gas from cars in front of you and worrying about pedestrians weaving in and out and all sorts of stuff. And on Sunday, there's a parade which blocks all traffic completely for several hours. God help you if you got to get from Spearfish or from Sturgis to Deadwood, for example. You have to go all the way around through Spearfish Canyon, something like that. Something about Spearfish Canyon makes my nose itch. No, seriously. But it just brings back to mind. I'm not into classic cars or anything like that. But if I were, and I guess maybe now I wish I were, because I had a Buick Skylark. It was actually my dad's. He let me use it from time to time. A 72 Buick Skylark. And that bloody vehicle wanted to idle at 30 miles an hour. That thing was itching to go at fabulous, ungodly, supersonic speeds. It was just itching. It was just pleading with me. I could hear it from under the hood. Stan, Stan, oh, please scratch my itch. You know what I'm saying? If you have a hot rod or have ever driven a hot rod, you know what I'm talking about. And if you don't know what a hot rod is, uh, you're too young. And in any case, this car wanted to have its itch scratched, and I wanted to scratch it. So one day I decided to scratch it real good. And I took that car and I took it onto a highway where there's a long downhill stretch. It was a 4-lane highway. I'm lucky I didn't get arrested. Well, if I'd have been arrested, I'd have been thrown in jail for sure. Because that car, I was revving that car up, and it got up to 120 mile an hour. Then there's an extra 5 mile an hour on the speedometer for good measure, just for a little extra room. That needle on that speedometer was pinned, and that I was driving right down the stripes on the right-hand side of that 4-lane highway, right down the stripes, like an aircraft taking off. There was nobody else on the highway. It was a nice day and no slippery pavement or anything like that. And the thing kept going considerably faster even after it pinned the needle. I estimate I probably topped out at 135, maybe even 140. If I'd have had a blowout, I'd have surely died. If I'd have gotten pulled over, I'd have surely gone to jail. But neither of those things happened, and I got to the bottom of the hill and finally said, "Well, car, well, hot rod, you itching anymore?" And it said, "Not particularly." "Stan, you're gonna drive your daddy to drinking if you don't stop driving that. Well, you're gonna drive yourself into the ground if you do that ever again." But it was a classic car, one of those kind that you see at cool Deadwood nights. And now, in retrospect, I wish that I'd kept that car and preserved it and kept it polished and well maintained and well kept up, just for appearance's sake, so that I could show it off this weekend at cool Deadwood nights, instead of being an old grouch about the blocking of the town by those celebrations. I'd have been part of the celebrations, and people could walk by and look at that car, and I could tell them my story about that car, about how I drove at that speed, and how I'm lucky I didn't go to jail, or maybe I'm lucky I didn't get killed. Or maybe I should have been killed, and I'm unlucky that I didn't get killed. I deserved it, but it was, oh my God, that car was itching. That car was itching so bad. You ever had an itch, the kind that you scratch and it keeps on itching? And I used to do it, especially on my back where you can't reach it. But I had itches like that, and I would scratch it. I would scratch and scratch and scratch and scratch and scratch and scratch and scratch. 90, 100, 110, 120, 130, 40 scratches an hour, scratches a minute, scratches a second. I keep on scratching and scratching and scratching and scratching. I called it the Conquer Scratch. And I now have done the Conquer Scratch on a hot rod. If you're a guy in your teens or late teens or maybe early 20s, a college student, the wild streak in you, you got to do that. Well, no, you mustn't. I'm not going to advise you to do a thing like that. It's dangerous. It's deadly. Don't do it. Don't ever do it. Don't ever drive at speeds like that. I absolutely forbid it, son. I forbid you from ever driving at speeds like that. It's immoral. It's illegal. The only thing it isn't is fattening. It can get you out of shape fast if something goes wrong. But oh, that car needed scratching. And there it be in my imagination at cool Deadwood nights. And instead of sitting around grousing about Deadwood blocking all the traffic all the time, I'd be sitting there in that walking and explaining that car and telling that story. It was a long time ago. It was almost a half a century ago. Too long. I think the statute of limitations has probably run out. I'm not going to tell you where I did this anyway. But oh my. Cool Deadwood nights. Tomorrow is the last day of it, and then we go down the stretch to Labor Day, and then winter is fast approaching in the black holes of Dakota Territory, United States of absolute insanity. Stan Gibilisco signing off until I kill myself somehow or another with some other motor vehicle. Oh, the old lady from Pasadena. Oh, I would have made her look like a turtle. So long.